Hello everyone and welcome to my BTG CBS update channel. The glittering chandeliers of the Fairmont Crest Country Club cast a warm, golden glow over the crowded ballroom as the clock ticked closer to midnight on New Year's Eve. Laughter and the clink of champagne glasses filled the air, mingling with the upbeat swing of the live band playing classic hits to usher in the new year. Streamers and balloons in silver and gold draped the elegant space, where the town's elite gathered in their finest attire, tuxedos and gowns that shimmered under the lights. Right in the heart of the festivities stood Vanessa and Joey, arm in arm, moving gracefully across the dance floor. Joey, usually so guarded in public, held Vanessa close with a proud smile, his hand firmly on the small of her back as he whispered something in her ear that made her laugh softly. He spun her gently, pulling her back in, making it clear to anyone watching that he was done hiding their connection. Vanessa's eyes sparkled with a mix of surprise and delight. This was the first time he'd been so openly affectionate in such a high-profile setting, and it felt like a promise fulfilled. Around them, couples swayed, friends toasted, and the energy built toward the inevitable countdown. Across town, the vibe at Uptown was electric and soulful. The upscale lounge packed wall-to-wall with revelers dressed to impress in sequins and sharp suits. The stage lights dimmed dramatically as Kenny Lattimore took the microphone, his smooth voice filling the room with a rendition of For You that had everyone swaying and singing along. Madison stood near the front, her eyes wide with amazement as she watched him perform live for the first time. She'd grown up listening to his albums on repeat, and now here he was mere feet away, pouring his heart into every note. She clutched her drink, mesmerized, occasionally glancing at her friends with an excited grin, mouthing the lyrics as the crowd erupted in applause between songs. The atmosphere was intimate yet explosive, confetti cannons ready to burst as the new year approached. Not far away at Orphegene's, the neighborhood bar buzzed with a more laid-back celebration, pool tables pushed aside for dancing, strings of lights twinkling over the wooden bar, and a big screen showing the Times Square ball drop. Ted Richardson and Shanice were tucked into a cozy booth, laughing over shared stories and plates of appetizers, their chemistry undeniable after months of flirting. Ted raised his glass to her with a warm smile, and Shanice clinked hers against it, her eyes locking onto his with a playful spark. As the countdown began on the screen 10, 9, 8, the room chanted along, cheers growing louder. 7, 6, 5. Ted turned to Shanice and she to him, the noise fading into the background for a moment. For 3, 2. There was a slight pause, a breath held between them, hearts racing. 1. Happy New Year. The ball dropped, confetti exploded, and in that instant they leaned in, sharing their first kiss, soft, tentative at first, then deepening with the promise of something new. The bar erupted in whoops and hugs around them, but for Ted and Shanice, the world had narrowed to just the two of them. Back in a quieter corner of Fairmont Crest, Isaiah and Eva lounged on the plush couch in his living room, the muffled sounds of distant fireworks filtering through the windows as the new year began. Empty takeout containers sat on the coffee table, remnants of their low-key evening spent watching old movies and talking late into the night. The TV flickered with post-countdown coverage, but neither was paying much attention. Isaiah shifted closer to Eva, his arm draped casually over the back of the couch behind her. He looked at her seriously for a moment, then said softly, "You know, I can have a girlfriend and a career. It doesn't have to be one or the other." Eva froze, her wine glass halfway to her lips, caught completely off guard. She set the glass down slowly and stood up, turning to face him with wide eyes. "What did you just call me?" she asked, her voice a mix of surprise and caution. It was the first time he'd ever put a label on what they had, no more vague seeing each other, or hanging out. Girlfriend. The word hung in the air, heavy with implication. Isaiah met her gaze steadily, a small smile playing on his lips, waiting for her reaction. Eva's mind raced. Part of her thrilled at the commitment, but another part wondered if she was ready for what it meant, if this was truly something she wanted or if it would complicate everything they'd built so carefully. In the dimly lit back room of Joey's casino, away from the ringing slot machines and cheering crowds welcoming the new year, Leslie slipped through the side door with determined steps. The mobster, Joey's shadowy associate known only as Marco in these circles, looked up from his ledger with a raised eyebrow, cigar smoke curling around him. "Leslie," he greeted coolly, leaning back in his chair. "What brings you here on New Year's Eve? This ain't a social call." She didn't sit, didn't waste time on pleasantries, standing tall in her sleek black dress. "I'm here with a business proposal," she said directly, her eyes sharp. "One you're definitely going to want to hear." Marco exhaled slowly, studying her, a faint smirk forming. He gestured for her to continue, intrigued despite himself. Leslie laid it out. A plan involving insider information, leverage over certain Fairmont Crest players, and a cut that could line both their pockets handsomely, all tied to Joey's operations. Working with Joey through this back channel could only mean trouble rippling out to everyone else in town. Vanessa, the country club set, even the hospital crowd. Marco nodded thoughtfully, the deal taking shape in the haze of celebration echoing faintly from the main floor. At Fairmont Crest Hospital, the fluorescent lights hummed steadily in the consultation room, a stark contrast to the festive chaos elsewhere. Anita and Vernon sat side by side on the uncomfortable chairs, her hand in his as they waited for yet another update that never seemed to come. The new year had arrived quietly for them, marked only by a muted TV in the corner showing fireworks. Vernon squeezed her hand gently, then turned to her with resolve in his eyes. "Anita," he said softly, "it's time. We have to tell the kids." She looked away, her face tightening with dread, hating the idea of burdening them with her health crisis now, of all times. Tears welled up as she nodded slowly, reluctantly agreeing despite the pain it caused her. "You're right," she whispered, voice breaking. "They deserved to know." Vernon pulled her into a hug, holding her as the weight of the secret they'd carried settled heavier in the silent room. Meanwhile, back at the country club, the party was still in full swing, though Vanessa paused mid-sip of her champagne, scanning the room with a slight frown. She leaned over to a nearby friend, her voice concerned over the music. "Have you seen Nicole? She stepped out earlier, said she got a call from her father. Maybe there was an emergency or something." The friend nodded sympathetically, promising to keep an eye out, as Vanessa's worry lingered amid the cheers. In a quieter lounge area off the ballroom, Danny and Andre sat close on a velvet couch, his arm wrapped tightly around her shoulders, holding her as if to shield her from the world. Danny leaned into him, her eyes distant, drawing comfort from his steady presence as unspoken fears about family and health swirled in her mind. Later that night, or perhaps early into the new year, Danny pulled up to Bill's house, the porch light casting long shadows on the driveway. She hesitated before knocking, but the door flew open almost immediately, Haley standing there with fire in her eyes. "Get out!" Haley yelled, voice sharp and raw. "You have no right to be here." Bill appeared behind her moments later, rubbing sleep from his eyes or perhaps just weary from the holiday tension. "What's going on?" he asked, then spotted Danny. "Danny, whatever you need to say, it can be said in front of Haley. She's family too." Danny shook her head, stepping forward urgently. "No, Bill, it's about our girls." Her words hung heavy, cutting through the anger. With Anita's health crisis already looming over the family like a storm cloud, this felt like the worst possible timing for yet another blow. Were Chelsea and Naomi facing something similar? Predisposed to the same type of cancer that had struck Anita? The questions unspoken but implied made the air thick with dread. Elsewhere, in a dimly lit hallway, perhaps at the hospital or back home, Nicole leaned against the cold wall, sliding down until she sat on the floor, breaking down in uncontrollable tears, her father's call delivering news that shattered her New Year's illusions in an instant. The celebrations continued in pockets across Fairmont Crest, but beneath the surface, the new year brought not just hope, but the unraveling of secrets and the forging of new bonds. Vanessa danced on with Joey, feeling seen and cherished in a way she hadn't expected. Madison clapped enthusiastically as Kenny Lattimore wrapped his set at Uptown, already planning to tell everyone about the magical performance. Ted and Shanice lingered at Orphe Jean's, stealing glances and shy smiles after that pivotal kiss, wondering what the year ahead held for them. Isaiah waited patiently on the couch for Eva's response, the label he'd offered opening a door they might walk through together, or not. Leslie left the casino backroom with a handshake sealed, the scandalous proposal setting wheels in motion that could upend lives. Anita and Vernon drove home in silence, steeling themselves for the conversations to come. Danny faced Bill and Haley's scrutiny, the concern for their daughters overriding old grudges. And Nicole wiped her tears, alone with whatever emergency had pulled her from the joy of the night. As dawn crept over Fairmont Crest on January 1st, the town awoke to hangovers and resolutions, but for these residents, favorite and not so favorite, the real changes were just beginning. Joey's public pride with Vanessa signaled a shift in his guarded world. Madison's awe at Kenny Lattimore reminded her of life's simple thrills amid chaos. Ted and Shanice's kiss marked a sweet beginning, tender and full of potential. Isaiah's words to Eva challenged her to define what she truly wanted, label and all. Leslie's bold move with the mobster promised intrigue and danger. Vernon and Anita's decision to disclose the truth would ripple through their family. Vanessa's casual mention of Nicole's absence hinted at worries yet to unfold. Andre's comfort for Danny offered solace in uncertainty. And the confrontation at Bill's house, paired with Nicole's breakdown, underscored that health fears and family emergencies waited for no holiday. In the end, New Year's Eve had been a tapestry of joy and tension, kisses and confessions, proposals clean and scandalous. The ball had dropped, the clocks had turned, but for the people of Fairmont Crest, the real countdown, to revelations, relationships and reckonings, was only just starting. Vanessa felt Joey's hand in hers as they left the club, a quiet assurance. Eva finally sat back down beside Isaiah, her answer unspoken but her presence a maybe. Shanice texted Ted goodnight with a heart emoji. Leslie smiled to herself in the rearview mirror. Anita held Vernon's hand tighter. Danny hoped for the best about their girls. Nicole gathered strength for what came next. And somewhere in the mix, the town held its breath for the year ahead.